Hello, everyone. So today I've spent a lot of time grading. End of the quarter for us, end of the semester, first semester, and there's a lot of projects to do. So my students for my classes, since everything we do is on stage, there's really not much to take home. There's not really a lot of homework, if any. Everything that we do is practical and related to what's happening on stage, except um, for these bouts of virtualness that we have been going into. So last year we developed a lot of virtual projects. We started, of course, in 2019, or uh, the end of, oh my God, no, I don't even remember when it was. The end of the 2019-2020 school year, when we were virtual, and then all of 2020-2021. So we have a good bank of virtual projects that help promote uh, vocabulary and recognizing ground plans, layouts, types of stages, things like that. Stuff that academic stuff that you can do without being in the shop and building, which is really hard for people who are used to building and getting their hands on tools. And I equate this to, I told my students, especially my Stagecraft 2 kids who were all virtual last year, that you can memorize the cookbook if you've never actually been in the kitchen. Do you know how to cook? And they all said no. Like, exactly. So don't beat yourselves up. But we were virtual the week before our exams, and our exams are in our class are made up of their practical exam, which is there's a couple ways that we do that, but there's a practical hands-on skills exam, and their portfolios, which is a compilation. So I've been grading all of the portfolios and their projects from the week before, which was kind of a general skills sum up. They had an option of what they could do. Either way, it involved, both projects involved written or oral, so they could do it either way, presentation of their ideas. And one thing that I have noticed across the board, with very few exceptions in my students, is an inability to express themselves written in any written form. Whether that is their portfolios, they typically do in Google Slides because it's easy. We have access to it. It's a format that they all have Chromebooks, so they can do that very simply. And part of that is expressing what, and there are criteria, but expressing what is happening in their portfolio. And not just, a list of pictures. They actually have to be able to explain to me what they're doing, what tools they used, what skills they had to learn to do it. There's a list of criteria there. Wow. I'm worried for them. I'm really worried for them. And I'm not an English teacher. You can ask anybody who knows me. I'm a very good writer. I can't spell to save my life. I understand sentence structure, but I couldn't diagram a sentence if I had to. But I recognize good writing, and I understand how to lay out a paragraph and make that work and get my points across in written form. And these kids have great ideas and no understanding of how to express them. And I don't mean like they can't spell or they can't diagram a sentence or, they're mixing up their word order, which in some cases our English language learners do quite a lot. That's all understandable and fine. They are struggling to get their simple ideas across in any kind of written format. So I'm grading these portfolios and these projects, and I'm pulling out the ideas and I'm highlighting their ideas because they submit everything in Google. So I'm grading everything in Google. Highlight it, say, hey, that's a really good observation. Can you expand on that idea? And without trying to tear them down and saying, this is poorly written. If as a teacher, what's important to me is that I understand their ideas. I'm not their English teacher. I don't have to worry about their sentence structure and their syntax and grammar. I want to know that they understand the ideas that I am teaching them and how to analyze a script, which is hard if you don't know how to write, but you can talk about it really well. They are understanding the ideas. As a high school teacher, we all want to support each other. I want to support the science department by, showing the kids, look, everything we do is physics. Everything we do on stage, electricity, rigging, it's all physics. Color theory, physics. Chemistry, same thing. Math, absolutely. History, social sciences. I've said it before. We do it all. And we definitely do English. We do a lot of intake of language and the written word and written communication. We don't output it a lot. So I'm writing this feedback for my students and gently trying to steer them, because I don't want them to hate writing. I want them to appreciate what it can do for them from a communication standpoint. So I'm gently trying to nudge them all into recognizing that empty sentences, just for the sake of having words to make a paragraph, is pointless. Find your idea, get that idea down, and then expand on that idea. Don't worry about the word count. Don't worry about necessarily, to begin with, your word order. But get that idea written down, and then we can work on building your communication with that idea in written form. And that's what I can do. That's what I can do to support them. I don't want to say in their English classes, but with their written word, is that the ideas are important. Again, it's figuring out where those communication skills have broken down, because we've been virtual so much of the past 2 years. And that is not blaming anyone for the situation. It's just the reality of how they communicate. And the other thing is, and this is going to sound really weird, especially because I'm a teacher and a writer, is that written communication is important, and I believe that, but is there a better way for us to teach that? Instead of teaching them, again, it gets back to you got to have something you love before you learn how to do it. You got to have something to say before you can care about how you say it. So when we're picking apart, because you have to evaluate what works and what doesn't. So while we're evaluating what does and doesn't work to help them with written communication, should we be considering how that's being taught, and is the way we learned it, because we didn't have the technologies that they have and we didn't have the distractions that they have. My oldest son, compared to my youngest, there's a world of difference in the technology that they had in front of them while they were learning and how they communicate. we're not catching up with what the tools that they have available to them to get them to the point that we want them to be from a communication standpoint. That's a lot of talking that I just did. And I hope I communicated it well. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings on it. I'm going to be talking to my kids tomorrow about this because I think it's important. Their input on their own education is incredibly important. They've got to understand where we're coming from and why we think it's important for them to know this because, I get a whole lot of when am I ever going to use this? Use it all the time. But they need concrete examples, and I don't blame them any. I did too. I needed to know. I needed to know. I was just that kind of person. I still am. Um, my poor administrators some days. Why do we have to do this? They get as exasperated as me as I get with my students. That's just the nature of things, I guess. So, give me your thoughts in the comments, please. I want to hear from people. Again, check us out, our upcoming performances, so you can see what it is we physically do on stage and why it's all physics and sociology and how we really are. We're not just entertainment. We are the full package. You will be entertained while we teach you about all these things. Have a great night, everybody.